There's a man I know, decades of experience in his trade, deep technical knowledge that most people in his industry would pay for. And every week, he gets into a car, drives away from his family, and hands that expertise over to a company that prints his name on a badge and calls him an asset. He's not trapped. He has no chains. He just never stopped to ask whether there was another way. And the strange part, he's not the exception. He's the same as most of us. We're told from childhood that life works in a specific sequence. You go to school, you get qualified, you find a job, you work for decades, you retire, you enjoy what's left. Nobody presents this as a choice. It's handed to you as a structure, as reality itself. And that's the key. Because when something is presented as a reality, rather than as a system, you don't question it. You just navigate within it. The entire education pipeline exists to make you employable. Not capable, not free, not self-sufficient, employable. That single word tells you everything about what the system is actually designed to produce. By the time most people reach their mid-20s, the limitations aren't imposed from outside anymore. They're internal, fully absorbed. People police their own ambitions before anyone else has to. Listen carefully to how people talk about the things that they want. I wish I could travel. I'd love to work for myself one day. Maybe when things settle down. Do you notice what's missing? There's no plan in those sentences. No next step. No ownership. It's desire without agency. Want without pursuit. And it's not because these people are lazy or incapable. It's because somewhere along the way, they absorbed a belief that certain lives are available to certain types of people, and that they are not one of those people. They're not saying I haven't figured out how yet. They're saying that's not for me. And they're saying it so quietly, so subconsciously, that they don't even realize that they've just given up. Here's something that reveals the depth of the programming. People who hate their job, who dread Monday mornings, the ones that count down towards the weekend, still feel guilty for taking a sick day. Think about how strange that is. You can simultaneously resent the place you work, not want to be there, and still feel like you've done something wrong by staying home. That's not logic. That's conditioning working exactly as intended. The guilt isn't really about the employer. It's about an identity that got built around showing up, around reliability, around being the kind of person who doesn't let the team down. Work ethic gets sold to us as a moral virtue, something that reflects your character, your worth, your decency as a person. So when you deviate from it, even when you're unwell, the shame isn't external. It comes from inside. And a workforce that polices itself is far more efficient than one that needs managing. The cruelest part of the default structure might be this. It convinces people that freedom is something you receive at the end, not something you can build towards. Retirement isn't a goal most people set. It's a destination they're told to wait for. Age 65 or 67 or whatever the current number is, as if freedom has a minimum age requirement. Meanwhile, people in their 30s and 40s, with real skills, real earning potential, real options, are sleepwalking through decades waiting for a date on a calendar. What's almost never discussed is that the timeline is not fixed, that the structure is not mandatory, that aggressive decisions made in your 30s can make 65 completely irrelevant, that income doesn't have to come from trading your hours to someone else's business. But to know that, someone has to tell you, and the system has very little interest in telling you. Here's where it gets complicated. It's easy to look at all of this and conclude that the system is simply the enemy. That the answer is to just reject it entirely and live outside of it. But that's not quite right either. The system is load-bearing. The infrastructure most of us rely on daily, like supply chains, healthcare, utilities, the whole apparatus. They run on people showing up and doing jobs. Full independence, in the way people romanticize it, is harder and rarer than the fantasy suggests. The more honest framing isn't escape. It's reduction of dependency. Slowly and deliberately taking back pieces of your autonomy. First your time, then your income sources, then your relationship with risk, until the system has less and less leverage over you. That's less dramatic than burning it all down, but it's real, and it's available to more people than they think. The man I mentioned at the start, he may be perfectly content. Some people genuinely are. The stable income, the predictability, someone else handling the overhead. There's a reasonable argument for that life. But contentment and awareness are different things. The question worth sitting with isn't whether your current life is bad, it's whether you actually chose it, or whether you just never seriously considered that something else was possible. Because most people don't make a decision. They just follow the path that was already laid out, at the speed everyone else is walking, towards the destination they were told to expect. And the system works best when nobody stops to notice that.